Hi Rado, good to have you back here at the Solar Journey Espresso. How are you doing?
Good morning, Torsten. Yeah, I'm doing well. Just came back from Asia, and yesterday I was at the Carbon board meeting, so traveling quite a lot, but hopefully we'll have a more relaxing weekend now.
Yeah, yeah. So you traveled quite a bit in Asia. So you went to Japan and China. So which events did you attend, and what's your takeaways?
Yes, so I was 2.5 weeks now in Asia. I started at PVSec Asia in Numazu, close to Tokyo. And after that, I went to the Hong Kong Bay Area. There are many interesting and important cities like Zhuhai and Shenzhen. So there were two events. And yes, but maybe let us start with PVSec in Numazu in Japan. And yeah, my visit was extremely intense, and I experienced two different worlds. In Japan, they are now putting all their efforts on new technologies beyond crystalline silicon. So everything is on new materials, perovskites and flexible materials. And that was also reflected in the sessions. Of
Hmm.
course, it's Asian PVSec is not only happening in Japan. This time it was in Japan. So depending which location the PVSec takes place, the topics are slightly different. And always when it comes to Japan, it's mostly about new materials, and the crystalline sessions are rather smaller.
And when you mention new materials, mostly thin film materials, I assume, is that still the interest to have tandems with silicon as a bottom cell, or are these then the more radical approaches without silicon?
Yeah, in combination with silicon, there were also many sessions like tandems, mostly related also to heterojunction, because Japan is the country where the heterojunction is coming from. So there were also many sessions on that, but to be honest, mostly really also only thin film related.
And that's perovskite or even other materials, yeah,
Even other materials,
like
just
CIG.
all the materials from the periodic systems they are
All right.
looking at.
So they're looking for new combinations of new elements, right? So I guess the CIGS cadmium telluride wasn't really the focus. It's really about new material classes. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Of course, focus on perovskites, but then also looking beyond perovskites. And then this is how Japan was always working. They want to be
Yeah.
3 or 4 steps ahead
Yeah. And
of
any
everything.
highlights with these new materials which stuck with you?
Mm, yeah, of course, perovskites are getting more and more stable, and but let's say the time scale is does not match with crystalline silicon. So there are improvements, but for my understanding, it's not going fast enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then you moved on to China, which is, I guess, a very different world. Yeah.
Completely, yeah. So the first event was Bi-Fi PV, which we now organize since 12 years. We started 2012 in Konstanz, and at that time, of course, bifacial PV was not very developed. And now bifaciality is becoming standard. But the focus of this workshop in Zhuhai, which we organized with ICO, was bifacial back contact.
Hmm.
And we just wanted to show the outside world that back contact is also bifacial, because if people think about back contact, of course, they mostly think about Maxeon, SunPower, and because of their cell architecture, that SunPower has to extract the charge carriers from the sides. That's why the metallization on the rear side has to be mostly, it's not fully covered metallization, but hardly any bifaciality from the rear side. But let's say the new concepts, like we already developed with our Zebra and now continuing with Body Zebra and ICO's and Longi's back contact concepts are bifacial. So the focus was bifacial PV, and I was extremely amazed how ICO did that, really a big show out of it. There were 400 visitors, so not only international experts, but also investors and partners, and also 30 media representatives. So it was a big show, and what was mostly impressive was also that the back contact leaders, which is ICO, Maxeon, and Longi these days, are joining forces. So there was a panel at the beginning of the workshop where they were saying, we will not fight like the TOPCon producers are doing lately. You know, there are many trials on patent infringements, but they, let's say, demonstrated to the outside that they want actually a cooperation.
So I guess that's partly driven also again by IP, right? I assume that Maxeon has some important IP in that sector. Yeah. And on the other side, then the others have the technology power and the financial power to scale. I guess that's could be a logic behind
Maxeon,
that.
Yes, you're right. Maxeon still owns a lot of IP, but let's say compared to the TOPCon world, because TOPCon is, let's say, rather new technology, or it's not a new technology, but the TOPCon device came after the IBC device into the market, and that's why the TOPCon market is more a minefield at the moment. Whereas back contact technologies, there are different kind of architectures of the back contact, so you can work around the Maxeon patents. In addition, the Maxeon patents will also expire within the next 2 to 3 years, so the field will be free to operate.
All right. Okay. So TOPCon is at this point very much standard in China. What's next in China? What did you see as the next move then to push efficiencies? So that you mentioned the bifacial concepts. What about heterojunction?
Yes. So you can imagine that now, you know, we are in the middle of a crisis. Also, the Chinese companies are suffering because of the overcapacity. So now, as you said, TOPCon is mainstream. So in order to also demonstrate to the government and to the investors that they diversify from the main market, there are at the moment two consortia, more or less, which is the bifacial back contact I already talked about, which is ICO, Longi, Maxeon, then also us together with Futura-san. So there are these back contact believers. On the other side, you already named it, they are the heterojunction people like Trina and many others. And and maybe you also already recognize that there are more and more announcements now coming up again. Trina has demonstrated highest efficiency TOPCon and heterojunction, and ICO or others also, Longi, strike back with back contact announcements. So the consortia are now positioning in the areas after after TOPCon. And of course, tandems are also a big topic at the moment, but this is a different time scale, because now the industry is preparing rather for the next 2 to 3 years, and that will not be, of course, tandems. They will come later. But now the question is, what comes after TOPCon? And there are two solutions that people are presenting: back contact or heterojunction.
Yeah. I think you're not a big fan of heterojunction. What do you think, in your opinion, what's the major disadvantage of hetero versus other concepts?
I mean, there are a couple disadvantages, which, of course, the indium availability, but people are working on substituting indium by other materials. It has a very simple processing sequence, but let's say still the capex is much higher, of course, because there are not so many gigawatt production out there to benefit from the scale. In addition, heterojunction is benefiting, of course, from the high voltage, and the yield. So you have to work in a very clean environment, and the yield is not as good as for let's say standard solar cells. In addition, let's say implementation into modules, because it's a low temperature technology, is also, let's say, one advantage, that it does not fit with the mainstream. But I would put it in a different way, Torsten. For me, it's actually doesn't matter if heterojunction or TOPCon. I'm quite sure that at the end, both technologies will go back contact, because this is, let's say, the final and the most efficient product. And also at the meeting in Zhuhai, the Bi-Fi PV, there were different heterojunction consortia already also presenting their back contact technologies. So no matter if TOPCon or heterojunction, I believe that the holy grail will be the back contact structure, because you are benefiting from the highest efficiency on the front side, and you can also implement different kind of materials on the rear side, like copper or even aluminum. I rather will say that different kind of metals on the rear side can be implemented.
What's the maximum level of bifaciality you can achieve with them, with the back contact cells?
If you compare, for example, TOPCon with the TOPCon back contact, the difference of the bifaciality will be about 3% absolute. So it's not a big difference. So the TOPCon concepts can achieve a bifacial factor of 0.8. At the moment, ICO's bifacial factor in the modules are 0.73. The next generation they plan will be 0.76, and plan to go very close to 0.8 as well. But there will be, of course, a difference, but only because of the additional metal on the rear side. I mean, the emitter of an IBC cell is on the rear side. This is even an advantage. And for TOPCon, you have anyhow the full side covered by polysilicon. So the absorption is also very similar.
Yeah. Cool. Lots of input. Where you headed next after the weekend?
Yeah, so indeed there is the last workshop for this year in Delft, organized by by Olindo, Uni Delft, back contact workshop, and there we meet with similar people as in Pi-Fi PV, but it will not be focused on bifaciality only, but like all kind of back contacts also for implementation into the building and vehicle integrated photovoltaic. So all about back contact you want to know.
Excellent. Hey Rado, thanks again for joining. As always with you, it's a long espresso, a triple espresso, I would say. And recover well after your long Asia trip and talk soon.
Yes. Thank you very much, Torsten, for having me, and see you soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.